Today I'm going to be talking about the 21 military slang terms and acronyms that every service member or veteran knows, loves, or still has nightmares about, and that you should know before you ship off to recruit training. Number one, which is FUBAR, which is fouled up beyond all recognition. Essentially, this is when you're just totally messed up. And yes, you can imagine that fouled up is actually a different F word. However, we are on YouTube and they don't like me being myself, so you get that version. Ironically, this one's funny enough that we just named the LLC that owns my new office building we'll get to move into in a couple of months, FUBAR HQ, which is hilarious to me. Number two here is Blue Falcon. Blue Falcon is essentially code for buddy effer. And it is the guy who just screws people over for his own benefit. This is, I believe, most commonly used in reference to military police, especially when they give you a ticket and you're like, come on, dude, you're in the military with us. And, you know, whatever that is, and there's like a little power trip. But the Blue Falcon is essentially when you screw your friend over for your own benefit or screw somebody over for your own benefit, and nobody likes a Blue Falcon, so don't be one. Number three is Bohica. That's BOHICA, which stands for bend over, here it comes again, i.e. the green weenie, as we call it in the Marine Corps, which is a green weenie. It's just gonna, bend over, here it comes, right? This is like, oh boy, new training. Oh, gotta go do that thing again. Oh man, I got duty on Christmas. Bohica. Number four is POG, P-O-G, which stands for officially personnel other than grunts. This is essentially everybody who's not infantry, and it is used to crap all over you. POG is basically just like a, haha, you're not a grunt, which has all kinds of negative connotations until you realize that if you've ever actually deployed, the POGs are what makes everybody's life go round, right? And they're all valuable. So it's funny because in true POG fashion, we adopt things. So we have like Pogie bait, which is candy and snacks. So if you have like snacks and candy, that's considered pogie bait, which is basically like, oh, the pogues and their nastiness eating their snack food, right? So like this whole thing is kind of a jab, but it actually means personnel other than grunt, and it refers to everybody other than infantry, ranger, airborne, special forces, recon, all the combat arms equal pogue, and it's just a good ribbing. So deal with it. I myself am a pogue. That leads us right into number five, grunt, which is the infantry, right? We just call these guys grunts. You could call them a bullet sponge too. There's a whole bunch of nastiness that goes around for these guys, but love them or hate them, you can't live without them. The entire military thrives on the infantry. It has been the backbone for a long time, and grunts, well, we find them annoying sometimes because of their egos, are in fact incredibly important and often pretty badass. Also, their life sucks. So, if you want to be like sleeping in the rain in a foxhole, being like, oh, I'm so cool because I'm a grunt, but while I'm trying not to get hypothermia, be my guest. Number six is hoo-ah, oorah, hoo-yah, fly high, sky high, coasties, go Coast Guard, whatever. Every branch has their own thing. For the Marine Corps, it's oorah, O-O-R-A-H, which is oorah, that gets shortened to rah, that gets shortened to that gets shortened to that gets whatever. In fact, it's funny, I was the guest of honor at a Marine Corps ball for the 250th a couple weeks back, and my son, who'd never actually got to speak before or see me speak before, and he got to wear a suit, and it was a really, really cool, like, proud dad moment. We're not going to show a picture of that, although he looks dapper. We had matching like navy blue red tie power suits. I just don't try to put him on social media much. Afterwards, he's like, why was everybody just yelling and making those noises during the speech? Because I started off by reading a story, and at the end I mentioned John Baslin. It was the story of his Medal of Honor. And everybody's just like, yut, which is yut, Y-U-T is you ugly thing. Then you've got yat yas, which is another Marine Corps one that means you ain't tracks, you ain't. But these are all just grunting, groaning noises that Marines make, and every other branch has their own thing. The Army is hoo-ah, and the Navy is hoo-yah, and everybody's got their thing. I don't have any idea what the Coast Guard is, or if Space Force has one. And for the Air Force, I don't know. It might be fly high. I have no whatever. But the Marine Corps is oorah. We are pretty aggressive about oorah, rah, yut, kill. Kill's another one for us. These are just like, I don't know, beat your chest man stuff, right? And the chicks get behind it too, but it is what it is. So there's that. Number 7 is ROE, which is rules of engagement. This one actually matters if you're deployed. This is essentially, am I allowed to pull the trigger at this person? These are the guidelines. And if you pull the trigger outside of those guidelines, you can get in a lot of trouble, including up to, war crimes charges. So it was very important that we all knew our rules of engagement for if and when to engage an enemy combatant in country, because you don't want to get in trouble, but also you got to be able to protect yourself. Number 8 here is OPSEC, which is short for operational security. And this is essentially just being a hard target. This is things like taking a different route periodically to and from work and not getting in such a routine that you get complacent. This also looks like not telling travel plans. This is why it's important that reporters don't know or tell the world about what units are going where when, because then that aircraft or the airport or the buses to and from can all become a target. So when I was the logistics, I was the MAGTF MMCC, which is the MAGTF Movement Control Chief at 1 MEF, which is largest command on the West Coast for the Marine Corps. Essentially, we were moving troops, trucks, transpo, buses, planes all over the world. And we moved like hundreds of thousands of troops and millions of tons of cargo. We couldn't be talking about what we were doing because we were putting people's lives at risk if they knew when, where, and how people were moving. So operational security is very important. That's actually one of the large reasons that you never see Marines traveling in their utilities, their camouflage, their desert or woodland camis, because you don't want to be walking around town representing, I'm in the military, I'm a target. Number 9 is FOB, which stands for Forward Operating Base. We call people FOBITs if they never left a forward operating base. This is essentially meaning like there's the wire, which is the big base. In Afghanistan, that was Camp Leatherneck, was the big base. And then you would go outside the wire to various FOBs, which were the forward operating bases. These were much smaller. And then from there, maybe you would end up at the COP, which is the combat outpost outside of a FOB. But these were essentially just smaller hubs where units lay their head at night. And so being on a FOB meant that you were outside the main protective, big military base and a little bit more risky. Number 10 is the PX, BX, NEX. This is the personal exchange, the basic exchange, or the Navy exchange. Basically, this is the place on base where you can go and buy all your goods. This could be a uniform store or a barber shop. It was often kind of like a little strip mall that had some food, some uniforms, some gear, plain clothes, whatever. But this is a place on base to go shop for all your needs and wares. Number 11 is just MOS codes. Every branch is going to talk about this differently. For example, the Marine Corps Infantry, if you're just a rifleman, is the 0311. So 03 is the field designator for infantry, and then 11 would be rifleman, 17 would be sniper, 21 would be reconnaissance, 72 would be MARSOC, so on and so forth, right? 31 is a machine gunners, I was not a machine gunner, don't get that twisted, although I did go to non-infantry machine gun leaders school with division schools in 1st Marine Division when I was out there. So I've done a lot of this training, but I am not a 0331, I'm a truck driver, right? So in the Marine Corps, 0311 is your basic rifleman, and in the Army, it's 11 Bravo. Different codes, same MOS. In the Marine Corps, 3531 is your transportation operator, which is what I did, Motor T, and it is 88 Mike in the Army. And so, and then different branches have different ways of saying this. So the Navy, you might be an HM1, which is a hospital man first class, which is a corpsman, right? You could be, every branch kind of talks about their rate or MOS differently. And so I say this just to say, when somebody asks what you do and you're talking to somebody at a different branch, instead of just spitting out 3531, you should say, I'm a motor transportation operator, or I'm a truck driver, right? Because that's the universal language, not the job code, which is different amongst every branch. Number 12 is PT. Physical training, right? Love it, hate it. This is running and working out in the mornings, afternoons, evening, whenever you got to do it. This is often platoon based. It's fun sometimes, but it's important for your mental and physical health, as well as passing your fitness tests and combat readiness. 13 is FRAGO, which is fragmentary order. This is essentially a small, it's like a warno or a warning order. These are just different versions of an order. So like a direct order or a commander's intent, like all of these things are just orders saying like, you're going to do this. So a frago is like a warno is like, hey, you're going to get word about something you got to do tomorrow. And the frago is like, hey, here's what you're going to be doing tomorrow. And then the official orders are like, now here's all the details. So think of the warnos like a nice heads up. The frago's like a bluff, like a bottom line up front, like quick synopsis. This is what you need to know right now, or while we're getting the rest ready. And then the actual orders are like, time to go. That often comes in the Marine Corps as an OSMEAC or a 5-paragraph order. That is the like full thing. It takes time to write up. So the warno is to trigger the frago, and the frago is to say you're going to get more info, but here's the bottom line while you're waiting for it, right? 14 is NCO or staff NCO. This is non-commissioned officer or staff non-commissioned officer in charge. These are your kind of higher levels in the rank. So you've got, in the Marine Corps, it's E1, 2, 3, which is private first class, lance corporal. And then you've got your NCOs, your non-commissioned officers, which is E4, E5, corporal sergeant. And then you've got your staff NCOs, which is E6 through E9, which is staff sergeant, gunnery sergeant. And then it splits for the Marine Corps to either master sergeant or first sergeant, and then master gunnery sergeant, sergeant major. So basically, you got your junior enlisted warriors, your troops, and you got your NCOs that are in charge of them, and you got your staff NCOs that are in charge of them, and then obviously you got warrant officers, or WOs and chief warrant officers, CWOs, and then you've got CWOs, and then you've got your commissioned officers. So that's kind of the basic rank structure, but I don't want to overcomplicate this. Number 15 is PCS, TAD, TDY. These are all movement types. So a PCS is a permanent change of station. That's like I'm moving from San Diego to North Carolina for a 3-year tour. PCA is a permanent change of assignment. So that would be like I'm on Camp Pendleton in San Diego and I'm moving to another unit on the same base. So you're not having to move or relocate, but you are changing unit. TAD, TDY are basically the same thing for like a temporary duty. And this is essentially like, maybe it's, hey, you're going to go guard the front gate and check IDs for 6 months. Or maybe you're going to go be the flight line guide. Or maybe you're going to, I don't know, go to the gym and be the guy who works the front desk at the gym for a little while. You know, there's various TADs, TDYs that happen. It could also be like a training, like, hey, you're going to go here for 6 weeks for a school. You're going TAD to the school. When you come back, you're back to the unit. So that's just like a temporary assignment. You're not actually moving your unit or your base, if that makes sense. 16 here is Jody. There's probably some buttholes that just puckered. Jody's got your girl. Jody is the slang name for the guy or girl who's taken your significant other out while you're gone training or in combat. So if you're out on a deployment and you come back and find out there was an affair, Jody got your girl. There's all kinds of, cadences about Jody and Jody this and Jody that, and it's kind of just a running joke because unfortunately, there's some truth to it. There's, oftentimes while you're out and about, somebody's hanging out with your man or woman, and Jody will get you if you're not careful. Number 17 is the DFAC, which is your dining facility and chow hall, or DFAC is the chow hall. This is where you go to get your food. We call it the DFAC. It is what it is. Chow hall. Number 18 is SNAFU, which is situation normal, all fouled up, i.e. everything's going just as we expected. Awful. This is kind of the like, guys, we're going into the muck. Things are going to get hairy. It's going to be a snafu. Like, we're going to get in a fight. It is what it is. SNAFU, right? So this is just, it is what it is. Number 19 is sick call, which is basically like if you're going to medical, right? If you've got an issue, or if you're light duty or limited duty, which is just like light duty is like, hey, I can't train for a day because I got this injury. Limited duty is like, hey, I can't train for a month because I'm recovering from this real injury. We call them sick call rangers or sick call Marines, or just going basically like, that's the injured guy, or that's the broke platoon, right? Like you don't necessarily want to be that guy, but I'll tell you this. It is better to be that person and actually document all your medical issues for when you come out to be able to receive, your VA healthcare and or disability if you have some real injuries, that it is to ego your way through injuries and then have no documentation. Number 20 is the old adage, gear adrift is gear a gift, meaning if you leave your crap behind, it's going to disappear. So have some gear accountability, keep tabs on your stuff. Because if it goes missing and you don't know where if you leave it unattended and it goes missing, that's on you. Somebody's coming to find it. We always joked in the Marine Corps, there are no thieves in the Marine Corps. Everybody's just trying to get their stuff back. So if your stuff goes missing because you left it unattended, it's probably because somebody else's stuff had gone missing and they're trying to get theirs back. Okay, now I threw in a 21st here, which is, I just think this is funny. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a Marine Corps thing very much. And that is the passphrase, what makes the grass grow? And so in the Marine Corps, we have this old adage, what makes the grass grow? Blood. And so that's kind of like the joking pass. In fact, this actually got me like 2 months ago, right? It's actually pretty funny. I was talking to somebody, I'll just full disclosure, right? I'm single. I tested out Tinder for a little bit. Newsflash, no longer have Tinder, not worth it. But in this instance, I was talking to somebody who said they were a female Marine. right? And they had a picture of themselves in uniform. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, there's not a whole lot of military out here in Southwest Missouri where I live right now. So I'm like, oh, that's dope. Maybe they're a reservist. And they said they were out training for like a week or two. And something just didn't add up. You know, they were like, I think it was that they were sending like unsolicited, like just additional photos of them in uniform, which if you know Marines, like, we're generally not going to be like, look at me in uniform, look at me in this 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 uniform, especially not the females, right? Like, that's just not the norm. Like, if you want to ask or see, like, got it, we have pride, but we're generally not just like, you know, overwhelming you. And so my spidey sense was going off a little bit. And so I texted her and I said, hey, I have a question for you. What makes the grass grow? And she replied, water, ? To which I then replied, man, I was really hoping that this was real. That's a shame. Block. Because if you were a Marine and you don't know that what makes the grass grow is blood, I don't know what to tell you. So that's actually like, I've even had at one point, and I'm not telling you that this is going to work, right? But I had forgotten my ID card in the computer at work. And so I'm coming through base and I'm in uniform, right? So like, obviously, you know, like, it's kind of obvious I'm in the military. In fact, my car had the decal, like, you could tell. But the gate guard, I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I left my ID card in the computer, you know, a CAC reader or whatever. And a CAC reader, CAC is your common access card. It is what we call our military IDs. And so I'm like, man, I left in the CAC reader, which is the common access card, like, reader for your computer. The guy at the gate guard just looks at me and he was like, what makes the grass grow? I said, blood. He said, carry on, Staff Sergeant. And so it's kind of an inside thing for the Marine Corps, but I thought it was funny enough. If you're going to be in the Marine Corps, you should know what makes the grass grow. And if you're not going to be in the Marine Corps, that tells you a little bit about our culture. All right, I hope you got something out of this video. This is just some interesting slang and whatever. And if you are watching this as a vet, maybe you got a laugh out of some of these that you'd forgotten about. There's a million others, right? Like, there's the scuttlebutt, which is the, you know, the freaking water fountain. And there's the head, which is the bathroom. And there's the you know, port side, like the porthole, which is a window. And there's all these other things in the military, but these were some fun ones for y'all. There's a million acronyms and slang terms. I could go on and on and on and on, but I hope that you found this entertaining. Comment down below your favorite. And if I missed one that you thought I should have had in this list, comment down below what your favorite slangs and acronyms are in the military. Have a great day.